All right, welcome back to another Market Watch video on the Lot of Lorcana YouTube channel. This has been a very popular series, at least in terms of our channel size and the growth that we've seen for it. And we're going to continue doing that because if that's what you want to see as a community, I'm going to keep providing that information. So, a couple updates. First of all, this is the first video we've done where we have more than 100 subscribers. So thank you so much. The last 2 weeks have kind of been a roller coaster for us. A lot of highs, and then we recently had a really bad negative. But in terms of the channel, the viewers, subscribers, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for that. It really does mean I don't want to say the world. This is a hobby for us. It means a lot to us. We really appreciate all the positivity, all the support that we've had for the channel. But on the personal side, our world had a bit of negative news, and by a bit, I mean quite a bad one. Sahana, who you've seen on cam quite a few times, her cancer may have returned. It seems likely that it does. There's a lump that was found inside of her. We're waiting on test results now, but it will have to be surgically removed. Right now, the initial test results we have been a bit positive, and we're hoping it's not worst case scenario for her. This is all very recent. Within the past 24 hours of filming this, we found all this stuff out. And so you may be seeing a little bit less of her. What I can say is that she had cancer a few years ago. She had a cell mass tumor removed. She was on chemo for a year, and she won then. And so we're going to fight again. We're going to do surgery, and we're hoping for all the best for her. Kind of hard to talk about it. It's very new, but it is pressing on my mind and strangely enough relevant to the extra topic of today's video. And so if I'm not as positive as I would like to be here, that's why. My thoughts, my world is with her. We're doing everything we can for her. The surgery will be probably pretty expensive. Right now we're being quoted around like $5,000 plus the vet bill, and it could go up from there depending on worst case scenario with it. That will be more important later when we talk about how to prepare for a card show. Don't worry about us. We're okay. We have a plan ahead of time. I've told you at the beginning that if all of Lorcana went to zero, it doesn't affect me in the slightest. We have money set aside for Sahana. She's an expensive dog. She's gotten a lot of medical stuff done, which is really unfair for her, but we do everything we can to keep her quality of life up. You know, my hands look like this, which isn't really anything special. So her paws can look like they do. You know, that's where a lot of our money goes to outside of the cardboard side of the house. So sorry about the bad news. We'll keep updated, hopefully with more good news. We have consultation already set up for her, so we're gonna keep finding out more stuff, and we're gonna beat this. That's what we do. That's what Sahana does. Literally, what her name means. So, okay, let's get into this. First thing I want to talk about is a bit of sealed news. We haven't really seen a whole lot of movement. First chapter stuff, it's still doing its thing. Right now, it may have plateaued for a little bit. I think that'll probably continue on for a little bit more. It's just going to depend on a few different factors with that. What was interesting for me is Rise of the Floodborn, the case. So we are seeing the case move up. It's actually moving up quite a bit. I think if we looked at a few different sales previously, we were getting into, the $500 range, and now we're seeing it jump above $600. We even have 2 confirmed sales at $720 for a case, which is quite expensive. It hasn't sold since then. Right now, asking price is $690. That's not including tax. So this is starting to move up. What I find interesting about it is that the Rise of the Floodborn box isn't really moving up. Like, we're seeing it over 3 months move up, but there's not a whole lot of sales here, right? You can ignore these. The first real one that you care about, it's still at 152. And it's really not selling at that point as of yet. So there's 4 boxes in a case. If you don't know, you would think at 140, 150, the price is going to be about 600. Price going up about 700 is interesting. It's not abnormal, right? Because your enchanted odds are about 1 in every 96 packs, right? So if you buy a case, you don't guarantee yourself to get an enchanted. In fact, if you've watched other people opening packs, you know that you can buy a case and get no enchanted, or you can have crazy luck like we did with Fabled and get 2 enchanted in both cases. It does improve your odds though. And I think that's what we're seeing here is the individual boxes. they're probably going to stay flat, I think, for a little bit. But the cases, in order to try to guarantee that enchanted, I think have a better expectation value in terms of the value of the cards. Those are starting to creep up. I don't think they're going to be jumping up into the 700s or more anytime soon. Not until we see more pressure from the collector side on individual boxes. But getting those at $600 or $650 may be a decently good deal at this point with it. So interesting there. All right, let's talk about singles. Let's talk about the risers. We got Prince Philip. If you haven't been watching the reveals, I do talk about that, where reveals can let you know about prices that are going to be changing for other cards, stuff that's already been out, because new synergies get made with those things. And this looks like we're seeing something like that, possibly with the reveals of like Whispers in the Well, other things, or perhaps there's a change in the meta going on. But Prince Philip has had a big jump over the last month. We're talking, market price still says $230 for a foil, and we're getting sales, sometimes in $4, $5, $6. I think people now are asking at $5 for a card, so you still get some sales where they are cheaper. What I do find interesting is this is a reprint, and specifically Ursula's Return. So if you look at what it is in Fabled, it did jump up, but nowhere near the same amount. I don't really understand that about the player base sometimes. If you are like a competitive player and you're willing to talk about that, let me know. I am curious why the Fabled side of it is so much cheaper than the Ursula's Return when it's the exact same card, outside of the little symbol at the bottom that says 4 or 9. I don't really get it, but you play the game, you collect however you want and stuff. So if there's a reason behind it, that logical or not, I don't really care. I just kind of want to know. I'm just curious how it is so I can learn that piece of information. So we got movement there. We also have Mickey Mouse, Brave Little Prince. This is one with the Whispers in the Well, I think, detective series, and putting cards underneath other cards in boost. We're getting that change there. So when this character has a card under him, he becomes much more powerful. We're seeing that price jump up quite a bit. Looks like there's still one available for sale for like $14. That'll, by the time this video comes out, I'm guessing that will be gone. And then after that, we're already at the $20 price point here. So Brave Little Prince is moving up quite a bit. It has been all week on that. It's something that I've been keeping an eye on. It's interesting. And if you watch our video Monday, we pulled that legendary foil, which was awesome because we needed it for our master set. So I'm glad we got it before we went to go try to buy or trade for it with the value going crazy. Next up, an interesting card here because we have Tamatoa Happy as a Clam. When this came out with, Blurple and how powerful item decks were, this card was crazy, right? If you've been following, you know that. Like this card, $41, and this is not the foil price. This is the regular printing price. We're seeing it go back up though. We got one, $22, Lightly Played $23, so these will probably be gone. And then after that, we're already up to $30, $37 after that. So there's kind of been a huge run on that. We're seeing the market price at $31 from that, just a big jump. Now, the reason I find this one interesting is because normally when something like this happens, you expect the enchanted card to also go up at the same time. And we are not seeing that when it comes to Tamatoa. We're seeing, a good amount of items being sold, but over 1 month, it's nothing crazy. And so it has me wondering, thinking like, okay, what is the cause of this? Because the first thought was, okay, do we have an expansion of the player base where it's not the really, I'll say, super competitive player base where people are playing with iconics, they're playing with enchanteds, they're playing with foils if there's not an enchanted available. Because let's be real, if you're playing 4 of these enchanted cards and, at the max price, let's see, what was it? Like, let's just say 3 months ago, $280, let's say it was like $300, I don't even know, like, that's just one card in there. You might be playing with a deck that is worth several $1,000s. That is not my level of play. I'm not going to be playing a deck that's expensive, right? So it makes you wonder, okay, is there another tier coming in where it's becoming more open or more people are playing the game, becoming competitive in it at a lower price point, right? But when you think about that, even $22 to $30 a card. Like for if you need 4 of these, that's still $120 for 4 cards. Assuming you're getting other cards that are meta relevant, you're still probably looking $500 for a deck. That's a very expensive deck to have. Even if it's not several grand, doesn't mean that $500 isn't a lot of money. So I don't exactly know what's going on here. Maybe there is another competitive tier building within the Lorcana community, which honestly would be great to have. We need players. We need the player base to grow. We need the collector base to grow. So if you're watching these videos and you care about Market Watch, this could potentially be very good news for the game as a whole. This is stuff we want to see. We want more people joining the game, joining the community. We want to welcome them. One, because we want to have fun as a community. I want to keep things positive, keep things fun. But the other aspect of it is if you are a collector and you value the cards going up on these, then you will not have that without more people joining the player base. Or more people joining the collector base. You want more people in the game in order to see prices go up on the stuff you already have. So more to keep an eye on with that. Okay, that's it for the winners. Let's talk about the prices where they're not so great. And this one makes me sad because I actually love this card. I have it graded up above me. I think it's a PSA 9. The artist is also fantastic. She does amazing artwork. You can follow her on Instagram as well too. So this isn't her only enchanted card, but I think it's just not meta relevant. And so we're seeing the price in the last 6 months really drop, and this doesn't even reflect the totality of the drop. Market price at $70. I don't think so. $52 I can buy it right now, cheapest one, and this has been available for a bit. I'm recording this on the 24th of October. We haven't had a sale since the 22nd or the 18th, and they were at $51, $52, $50, right? So the price on this is dropping, and we're going to see this continue to drop on this enchanted. So I would say if you really like the artwork and you like the card, you like the movie, which I did. I was really happy when we pulled this. This would probably be a good time to buy that card because it's on a downward trend. We might see it shift a little bit lower, but this might be the bottom of it. It's always hard to say. You don't really know. In general, if you're trying to buy stuff for your collection, not as an investment, you want to buy when it's on the way down. That's when your buy point has happened. You never want to buy on this end of it. It's likely to have these turning points with it as it moves out of a meta or for whatever reason, right? So buy when it's going down. Same thing with Mulan, the cold foil version of it. We did see last week, I think, with the enchanted, with the downward pressure on that. The cold foil has also dropped quite a bit. This one is taking, I think, a much harder dive than others have. This sort of slope is very normal for the first 3 months after a set is released. You can see this on most cards. This one just may have had the worst drop, or one of the worst drops, which is why it made the list that the doc put together for me. I see the percentages as a delta, and this one was a pretty big drop, and we cap it where it's like if it dropped like 80%, but the card is worth less than $1, then we don't include that in these sorts of things, because honestly, it's just not worth the time, and I don't think it's worth your investment time either to worry about cards that are changing by 10, 15 cents at a time. Even if it represents a huge delta in terms of percentage, it just doesn't have a lot of value. So we just see a card that is going from $5 all the way down to under $1.50 in a pretty short period of time. So pretty big change on these cards. So that's going to wrap it up for the big movers, the big changers that we're seeing on a week-to-week basis. Keep in mind that trends tend to happen slowly. Week-to-week stuff usually means there's something big happening in the meta. So don't be surprised if there's not that many cards or sealed products that we end up talking about on a week-to-week basis. But as we look at the trends overall, we'll start to see the bigger picture with stuff. Last thing I want to talk about is how to prepare for your next card show. So that's the subtopic for this video. We just finished up the Pikes Peak card show, and then this weekend we'll be going up to the Denver card show as buyers and hoping to see what we can find there. But let's talk about what you should do if you've never attended a card show before, or if you have and you felt unprepared and a bit overwhelmed with it. Then this video will hopefully make you feel a bit more comfortable and make it to where you feel prepared and you can have fun at the card show. and maybe you've attended multiple, then maybe this information will give you a different perspective about how to prepare, and hopefully it's useful as well too. And if it's not, that's okay as well. So if you have any other tips, things like that when talking about preparation, let me know in the comments. Okay, first thing up, plan your card shows. So there'll be a link in the description here about where you can go to find all the card shows that are effectively publicly available all across the world. So the link I'm going to have is set for everything. You can filter it to North America, you can filter it to the United States, you can filter it to your specific state. If you're watching in other countries, awesome, thank you. I think that's great. You can also filter it for, I think, specific continents as well too, not just North America, South America, Europe, Asia, whatever, to the countries, and then filter it there even by month. Or I think at this point it's like all the way out to the end of calendar year 2026, right? So plan these out ahead of time. Think about when you want to attend stuff, when you think it'd be a good time to go, either because it's local, or maybe you want to make a trip out of it. Like maybe you live in a place and like there's a card show like 3 hours away. Well, if you know about that 2 days before, I don't want to go to that. Maybe you do. But if you know about it 2 months in advance, then you can make the trip, right? You could plan a weekend around it, and then you can go to that card show or go to that expo, whatever it may be, right? So big thing is know when you're planning on attending first. Next thing, and this ties into what I was talking about with Sahana, is know your budget. I really want to emphasize this point, is that cards are a hobby for the vast majority of us. This is not my full-time job. This is a hobby that I enjoy doing. It's not my source of income. You should have your necessities figured out, your savings already done, automated, and your investments already done, automated, before you start looking at what I can spend at a card show. It's super important, because if you don't do those things and you spend your money in cards, when, I don't know, your dog may have cancer come back, or your roof has an issue, or the refrigerator goes out, or any other of all the emergencies that can happen in your life, you may end up being forced to sell your cards at, basically a 50% loss or worse, right? Because you need the cash, simply because you didn't plan ahead. So please have your savings figured out, have your investments figured out, take care of everything else you need to, and then with your extra money, have fun with your hobbies. That's what I do. That's why I'm not worried about Sahana in terms of the financial aspect of it. I have that figured out. We are good to go there. I am worried about for her health, but we're going to get the surgery done. All that really means for the short term for me, there'll probably be less cards that I'm going to be buying on the personal side of things. So I think until I know the true cost of everything and full treatment plan, I'm just going to wait on buying stuff, build up a little bit extra money in case I need it, and just be prepared rather than, just not having the full stuff prepared for ahead of time. If worst case scenario happens, I'll still be good with stuff. I have, my emergency fund, all that other things figured out. But I just like to have information before I'm spending more money, right? And so that's my advice for you, is figure out what your budget is and then bring it as cash. This is big because cash is king at a card show. Vendors like dealing with cash more than they want to deal with a credit card or deal with PayPal or Venmo or any of the other options, Zelle, Cash App. I don't even care. Apple, it doesn't matter. Cash is king. It's important for the vending side. You can usually get better deals when it comes to cash deals. It's also important because if you bring cash and you only spend cash, then you basically minimize your chance of going over your budget. It's not going to be like, oh, well, it's an extra $50 and I can just put it on a card and pay for it that way. No, that's how you overspend on stuff. Bring the cash. It's basically your allowance. Once you're out of cash, you're out of money, you stop buying stuff, and that's okay. It means you spent well within your means, and that's what I want to see from you. Next up, write down your targets. You know what your budget is. You know how much cash you're going to bring. Prioritize your list of what cards or sealed product do I want to find at the card show and what really matters to me. So, I put together the priority list, Lion King, Stitch, anything else, I don't know. Make it for what you want, right? If you want to collect the princesses, if you want to collect dogs, if you want to collect the spooky cards, the Halloween stuff, that's relevant to it. Or maybe you really like the really cute pictures and stuff. Whatever it is, collect how you want, do it your way. But make the list of what's most important to you. What do you really want to find? And if you do, that's where you're going to spend your money at. And then just go down from there and figure out, okay, Well, if they have that, that's great. If they have this, okay. And if I can't find any of this stuff, then I can go down to my other options there, right? Then research your prices. For the stuff that you really want, know how much they go for. If it's ungraded, if you're watching this, go to TCG Player, makes it super easy. If it's graded cards, I recommend eBay, the last confirmed sales, 130-point confirmed sales. Take an average of the relevant sales around it, right? If you're pulling data back from January of this year, and it's like, oh, well, it sold for $800 back in January. It's like, oh, okay, it's not really relevant, right? Look for what sales happened in the past, like 2 months that you are wanting the card from. And that will, take an average of that, and that'll give you a good basis for what you should be looking at for the value of the card. If you're doing this for Lorcana, it's relatively easy. PSA 9 is basically the near mint ungraded price. You don't have to research it. PSA 10 varies. Sometimes it can be 2x, sometimes it can be 3x. I think if you look like Elsa, Spirit of Winter, Enchanted, it's like 1.5. So don't assume any strict multiplier on a PSA 10 versus the ungraded near mint price. Okay. Gather up your sellable cards is the next step. If you're opening packs, you acquire cards, maybe there's some cards that you're like, I could sell this. It's not really part of my important collection. Pull those. They can be value added to a sale, right? They can increase the amount of purchasing power you do have. If it's something you really don't care about and it has value, bring it. Research the price of it. Just keep in mind, if you're going to a card show, you're never really going to get full market value for it, even as a trade. As a trade, you'd want to push for 80, 85%. If you can get 90% on trade-in value, great. Keep working with that vendor, right? They probably have good margins and they can work with you. If you're selling it for cash, try to push for 80%. If you're trying to get 80, you probably need a high value or a card that moves quickly. From what I've seen, we have to buy at 70%. Some people will buy lower than that. For Lorcana, I think you will see lower percentages because people just don't know how well it sells through, especially at card shows. And that can be a bit problematic, especially if it's like, this card worth $100 and you're offering 60, that can hurt, right? And keep in mind it's percentage based. So the more the card is worth, the higher the overall discount that'll be that people are buying at. So just be prepared for that. We can talk about another video if it's wanted, vending and why that percentage is baked into there, all the costs that you deal with in terms of the sales tax, the vending fees, the costs associated with it, things like that and stuff. I'm happy to do that. Let me know if you want that. I can make that video. But for now, what you need to know is 70 to 75% is usually the upper end of what you're going to get if you're selling your cards for cash. But if you don't want the cards, add it to your cash pile of things that you can now buy the cards that you do want with. Next up, be prepared for no internet. I've been to plenty of expos and other things like that where there's just no cell signal at all. And the Wi-Fi doesn't work. You're not going to look up TCG Player. You're not going to be able to scan the collector app, things like that. And here are the prices. Doesn't work. It simply doesn't happen. So what I recommend is know the prices of the things you want. And if a vendor has a lot of different stuff, look at things that you know the value of. Now, one of the things that I tend to look at is if they have first chapter boxes for sale, or if they have realistically any booster box for sale. I know the general prices of those. If I see a vendor and they have Ursula's Return booster box and they're selling it for $140, I'm not really going to look at any of the other cards, to be honest with you, because they're way off, upwards of like 50% off on the value of what the Ursula's Return booster box is. So there's no good starting point at that point. I'm just going to be, be cordial, be nice and stuff. And, you can walk and just, if they start a conversation, you can, politely walk away and thank them for their time, right? If the prices are close and they have a lot of stuff and you don't know the cards, then if you find something that the price is relatively close on, it usually means that the rest of the stuff is likely priced correctly. And you could always ask, when they update prices or how they go about doing that. Just be respectful with that. Don't come in with the this card is you have that price wrong. You have it it's have it as a $6 card, but it's actually only worth $5.40. Okay, as a vendor, we're not trying to deal with 60-cent changes on stuff. It's simply not worth the time because there's a lot of manual effort that needs to go on these things, right? But if it's like a $600 card and they have it marked for 1,000, okay, that's where you're gonna have a problem. But maybe it's only like 650. At that point, then we can talk about another video of like how to negotiate, make offers, get fair deals, and be able to get the things that you want and stuff like that. So that's my advice. If you don't have internet, look for things that you do know and base everything off of that. Will it work 100% of the time? No, it simply will not, because sometimes people make mistakes. They have something that you do know the price of and they marked it wildly off because, as we've seen, TCG Player can list faulty prices, or maybe they just hadn't updated in a while. It could be a numerous amount of things. So if you can find a couple of different items and they're all off, then that will give you better confidence that the prices are wrong. If you find a bunch of different things and they are right, then I'll give you more confidence that they're correct. So just something to be aware of, though. You won't always have internet. The last thing, bring a bag and bring comfortable shoes. Some of these spaces get quite large and you're going to be doing a lot of walking. If you're have mobility issues, prepare for that. I'm not really going to talk about that. You would know more about that than I do. I'm thankful, lucky enough to not have mobility issues. If you do, then do normal preparation that you would need to do for something like that, especially for a large space and a lot of people that could be crowded. I do hope you are able to attend and that accommodations are made, because I want everybody to be able to attend these sorts of shows. They're a lot of fun. The other thing is use a bag. I usually bag that goes around my chest. I don't really like carrying cash in my wallet. I like having everything right here for me to easily grab. That includes penny sleeves, the little plastic card sleeves, top loaders, as well as my cash and the cards that I'm willing to sell to trade, things that have a bit higher value. Some people, you'll see them bringing like a briefcase around. Hey, if you want to do that, that's cool. If you got a lot of stuff and you're trying to make a lot of different deals, transactions, or buying a lot of cards, that can make a lot of sense. If you're, looking to spend $100, $200, maybe don't bring 50 cards with you. It's probably not going to be worth your time. So, just bring the higher stuff that you're really willing to part with. And I like bringing my own top loaders, card sleeves. I just like to put things in fresh sleeves, fresh top loaders. I don't like seeing like the wear marks on it that happens from transport, or like the stickers, stuff like that with it. That's personal preference. Do you have to do this? No, but if you're very particular about how your cards are kept and maintained, then do something like that. It's what I do. So, okay, the last thing is walk around the space. Unless there is like a very limited item that other people aren't going to have and you see it, walk around. Likely the deal will still be available. The cards are still going to be available after you do the full walk around. So a lot of times there's multiple printings of these cards that people have available, even in a PSA 10 or whatever else it may be, sealed product. Get an idea of what the prices are and start doing your research, scoping out ahead of time, or not ahead of time, before you make your first deal about what cards are available, what sealed product is available. When it comes to Lorcana or any tradable card game, knowledge is your friend. The more knowledge you have about the prices and what is available at different vendors, the better deals that you will be able to make with your cards, with your money. So that's my advice for how to prepare for a card show. If you like this, please subscribe. I want to keep making more content. If there's more stuff you want to see, if you want to know what it's like being a vendor for selling cards, as a buyer, what to do to make deals, or anything else when it comes to collecting, trading, selling, buying cards, let me know. I'm happy to make the videos. I love talking about this stuff, and I just want to make the channel and the information as useful to you as possible. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for all the support. It means a lot to me. I've been super excited about it. And I'm just going to say that's it for now. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.